Hey, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I've been intrigued by this idea of live streaming for some time. Being able to interact live with someone you look up to really makes you feel, as the viewer, a whole lot more connected to that person. Now, I've been hosting a podcast with a good friend of mine, Barry Maurice, for over a year now. To date, we've recorded 64 episodes, each of which is just over an hour long. I'll leave a link down below to our show, and I'll really appreciate it if you do go and check it out. But as much as I enjoyed every single minute of recording those shows, I've got to level with you. The editing was a whole lot less enjoyable. Every one of those weeks that we released an episode, behind the scenes I spent around 3 to 4 hours making that edit happen. That is mixing down the audio levels, switching camera angles, making sure that the color grading was also on point too. It's a lot of work. And as much as I do enjoy creating stuff, this became a bit of a slog. Then the live streaming idea hit me. What if we could instead live stream the whole thing? In that way, force ourselves to recover from any mistakes that we made live while on the air. And at the same time, and I guess most importantly for me, bypassing the edit altogether. What this means is that I get back at least 3 hours of my life every single week. And not to mention, we also introduce a new element to our podcast, and that is the ability to interact with guests live while we're recording it. So I came across a live stream platform that has enabled us to make this switch. And man, oh man, am I pleased. Ecamm Live. It's a program that's tailored to be used on Mac operating systems. It's super simple to set up and use and perfect for my use case. So let me give you a quick run through of the interface. And as I do this, I'm going to tilt my head so I can actually look at the screen and explain everything that's going on here. I know it might look like there's a lot going on at the moment, but it's honestly such a simple program to use. Once you understand what each of these little boxes does, you'll be working Ecamm Live with no troubles. So let's start off with this main window, which is effectively showing you what's going out live to the world. And at the moment, all I have is my camera, and that is coming through the Camlink 4K. I have recorded a video on this, which I will be releasing in due course. Do go and check it out if you're intrigued to know what the Camlink is all about. Then just north of that is the sound levels tab. So I can then control basically my sound levels, any movies or video overlays that I have, any guests or sound effects as well in this panel as it's happening live, which I find to be really great. Up next, we've got the sound effects tab. You can basically preload any audio file in here that you want to have as a sound effect during your live stream. I've got all my sound effects from Epidemic Sounds. If you haven't checked out their SFX tab within the main website, and you are a member, go and check it out because it's a great place to start, especially if you're getting started with live streaming as well. Next up, we've got the camera effects tab. Now this is effectively where I can color grade my footage as it's happening in real time. So as you're watching this, I already have a color grade applied to my video that's going out live. And that is, of course, one of my good friends, Mitch Lally, and his preset pack. I highly recommend you check it out. It's what I use to grade most of my footage because it certainly is within the aesthetic that I like and I'm going for. So I've got a LUT basically that's applied going live, which I find to be so cool. And then of course you can do all of these extra little adjustments like brightness, temperature, tone, saturation, and gamma as well, which basically, as I said, affects as you're going out live, which is really easy. And if you had a guest, you could basically switch this over at the top here and drill down to your guest's camera and do the exact same thing, which I think is really cool for a live program. Next up, we've got the overlays tab, which is basically linked to this scenes tab that I have at the back here. So scenes are the most important thing you're going to want to set up when you do your live stream. What do you actually want to be displayed as the end goal ultimately on your stream? And you can set this up in all sorts of different ways. Basically, because this is a podcast and this is how I use Ecamm Live, I've got various segments, and effectively that's pre-rendered video that I have, which obviously takes us from one segment on the podcast to the next. So if I click on one of these here, you can have a good idea of what it'll look like.
The week that was.
So like I said, that works really well to have a pre-made video. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I clicked on that, it actually muted my microphone as well. So there's all sorts of stuff that you can configure within scenes. And I guess that makes Ecamm Live a program that I really like. Another key thing in my scenes, of course, as it's a podcast, is being able to see my co-host Barry. So he's normally up here in this corner, and essentially above this block, I set up his camera. So this block, I've just used a JPEG image of a plain white square block. And then effectively what I do is add his camera on top of that. So you can set up all sorts of different scenes and different layouts or whatever the case is that you want. And then when he's speaking, I can mix it and switch it the other way around. And normally I would spend ages in post actually editing and putting this stuff together. But because Ecamm Live can deal with all of these scenes and layouts and all of our segments from different areas of the podcast, it's made it so much easier to not have to edit because it can happen on the go as we're recording, which is a game changer, honestly. Lastly, let's quickly talk about the comments and reactions box. So at the moment, you're not going to see anything running through there, but as soon as you start your live stream and comments start flowing through, you can see obviously all of these comments pop through as they happen. Now, because ours is a podcast and we essentially are not dependent on these comments, we have a platform and we kind of know what it is we're going to be talking about anyway. We don't want to see these comments running through in the final episode unless there's something that we specifically want to talk about. So what's great about Ecamm Live is that I can highlight a particular comment and only then that comment will bake itself into the final product of our podcast. So again, this is perfect for my use case as a podcast. I don't need to see those comments scrolling through constantly, and I love the way that Ecamm Live handles this feature. So there's a basic run through of Ecamm Live. Of course, you can go a whole lot more into this if you want and become a bit more advanced and set up your scenes in the way that you absolutely want. I didn't really touch overlays that much. You can get quite far down that rabbit hole as well. But this is a wonderful, very easy to use platform that I strongly recommend you check out. The Pro subscription, which is what I've decided to go with, lets you have 20 hours of guest high definition interviews per month. It also lets you apply different color grades to yourself and your guests in real time, stream in 4K, and use Ecamm Live as a virtual camera, which is about to make your Zoom calls a whole lot better, especially if you present stuff in the background. What a win. I can't even begin to tell you how much of a game changer this is for me. Getting back those precious hours every single week is going to make such a big difference. I mean, I'll even be able to record a whole lot more content for this channel, which is definitely a goal of mine for this year too. If you've been intrigued by the idea of live streaming, I have no doubt that Ecamm Live is the easiest way for you to get started. Yes, there are other options out there like OBS, and you may actually save tons of cash in going for something like that. But all of the extra customization and setting up, it feels like a bit of a chore. So if quick, easy, and reliable is what you're looking for, do go and check out Ecamm Live. Hey, I've been looking at doing some live streaming on this channel too, so definitely do drop down in the comments below if you have any ideas of things that we could do live in the future. Some ideas I have are just hanging out, editing photos together, or even tuning in live to a new tech event release. Again, if you have any extra ideas or if you're keen on any of those ideas that I mentioned, just let me know in the comments below. I'd definitely appreciate it. Don't forget to hit subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you soon.